Who got you those flowers? The question came soft. Too soft. Nia Brooks froze with her hand still resting on the edge of her desk. For a second, the entire world seemed to pause. The hum of the air conditioner, the muted phones ringing somewhere behind her, even the city of Seoul stretching endlessly beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Everything stopped because Chairman Seo Joon-hyuk was standing there, looking at the bouquet on her desk like it had personally offended him. And that's when Nia knew. This wasn't a normal question. This wasn't curiosity. This was jealousy. The flowers had arrived less than 30 minutes ago. A neat bouquet of red roses mixed with white lilies, wrapped in cream paper and tied with a black ribbon. Elegant. Thoughtful. Impossible to ignore. The delivery man had smiled when he handed them to her, making her sign as if the flowers were something fragile. Something important. And maybe they were. The small card tucked between the blooms had made Nia laugh out loud, something she almost never did in this office. Can't wait to see you. Korea's not ready for us. Asterisk. Andre. Her best friend since middle school. The one person who knew her before Seoul, before uniforms and rules and Chairman Seo Joon-hyuk. He was flying in for the weekend, just like they'd planned for months. That was all. Just flowers. Just love from home. Nothing dangerous. Nothing inappropriate. At least, it shouldn't have been. Nia slowly lifted her eyes. Chairman Seo stood a few feet away, perfectly still. His charcoal suit fit him like it had been made just for him, which it probably had. His dark hair was neat, his expression calm, controlled. Too controlled. His gaze wasn't on her face. It was locked on the flowers. Chairman Seo, she said carefully, straightening her posture. Is there something you need? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked closer. Each step felt heavy, even though she couldn't hear his shoes against the carpet. He stopped at her desk, close enough now that she could smell his cologne. Clean, expensive, familiar in a way she hated to admit. Who? He repeated, his voice lower now. Got you those flowers? Nia swallowed. Her heart started beating faster, and she didn't like that it did. She had worked for him for over a year as his personal maid, and now his executive assistant. She knew his moods. She knew when he was calm. When he was dangerous. This version of him? She had never seen before. A friend, she said. Simple. Honest. A childhood friend. His jaw tightened. It was the smallest movement, but Nia caught it. She always caught things others missed. It was how she survived here. A friend, he echoed, like the word didn't sit right in his mouth. Before she could react, he reached out and pulled the card from the bouquet. Chairman Seo, she started. He ignored her. His eyes scanned the card. Slowly. Carefully. Can't wait to see you. Asterisk. Nia watched his fingers curl slightly around the paper. Not enough to tear it. Just enough to show restraint. That scared her more than anger ever could. You have plans this weekend? He asked. Yes, she replied, her voice steady even though her chest felt tight. Ido. Silence stretched between them. Outside the glass windows, Seoul glittered. Cars moving, people living, the city completely unaware that something had just shifted inside this office. Chairman Seo placed the card back exactly where it had been. Perfectly aligned. Controlled. Cancel my afternoon meetings, he said suddenly. Nia blinked. Sir. All of them, he added. Effective immediately. But you have the Gangnam briefing and... I said cancel them, he cut in softly. Then he turned and walked back into his office, closing the door behind him with a quiet click that felt louder than a slam. Nia sat there, staring at the closed door. Her hands were shaking now. She looked back at the flowers. Still beautiful. Still innocent. Still from someone who loved her long before this world ever did. Nothing had changed. And yet everything had. A shadow fell across her desk. She looked up to see Chairman Seo's head of security, watching her with unreadable eyes. Be careful this weekend, he said quietly. Then he walked away. Nia exhaled slowly, her heart pounding. Careful of what? Careful of him? Or careful of what she had just awakened? She glanced once more at the flowers, at the card, at the closed door behind which Seoul's most dangerous man now sat, thinking about her. And somewhere deep in her chest, a warning screamed. This was only the beginning. If this story pulled you in, don't stop here. Asterisk asterisk. This story gets darker, deeper, and far more dangerous from this point on. Subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. Because once a man like Seo Joon-hyuk loses control, no one walks away unchanged. And trust me, what happens next will leave you breathless. Nia Brooks had survived 18 months in Chairman Seo Joon-hyuk's world by following 3 simple rules. Rules she repeated to herself every morning while tying her apron. Rules she whispered in her head while riding the elevator to the top floor. Rules that kept her breathing. Rule 1. Never ask questions about his business. Rule 2. Never make mistakes. Rule 3. Never mix her personal life with his. Until the flowers. Nia sat at her desk long after Chairman Seo closed his office door, staring at the bouquet like it might suddenly explode. Her computer screen glowed softly in front of her, unread emails piling up, but her mind wasn't there. It was replaying everything. His voice. His eyes. The way his fingers had tightened around that card. She leaned back in her chair and exhaled slowly. 18 months. That was how long she'd lasted in this building when others barely made it 6 weeks. When she first arrived in Seoul, she hadn't planned on staying. She was just a black girl from Atlanta with a recommendation letter, a work visa, and a temporary job as a personal maid in a wealthy household. Chairman Seo's household. She remembered her first day clearly. She had been terrified. The mansion was silent, cold, too big. Men in black suits moved through the halls without speaking. No one smiled. No one explained anything. And then she met him. Seo Joon-hyuk. He hadn't looked at her for long. Just one slow glance from head to toe. Not disrespectful. Not warm either. You will be punctual, he said. Yes, sir, she replied. You will be quiet. Yes, sir. And you will never repeat what you see or hear here. Yes, Chairman. That was it. She thought she'd last a month. 2 maybe. But she paid attention. She learned quickly. She noticed things. The way he liked his tea warm, but not hot. The way he hated noise in the mornings. The way his shoulders tightened when he was angry. Never his voice. Never his face. Rule 2 became her religion. Never make mistakes. She folded his clothes perfectly. She memorized his schedule. She anticipated needs he didn't voice. When his assistant quit suddenly, he surprised everyone by asking her to step in temporarily. Just until I find someone permanent, he'd said. That was a year ago. Somewhere along the way, she stopped being invisible. He noticed when she stayed late without complaint. When she fixed problems before they reached him. When she brought him water without being asked during long meetings. Once, during a storm, she overheard him speaking quietly on the phone. His voice cracked. Just for a second. When he noticed her standing there, he stopped immediately. I didn't hear anything, she said. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. That was the first time she felt it. That pull. Rule 3 was the hardest. Never mix her personal life with his. She never talked about home. Never mentioned her family. Never talked about her loneliness in a country where she still struggled with the language. She smiled. She worked. She stayed in her lane. But then there were moments. Small ones. Like the night he noticed her hands shaking and quietly pushed a cup of tea toward her. Or the time he adjusted the thermostat without a word because he noticed she was cold. Or the way he said her name, Nia, like it mattered. Those moments were dangerous. She told herself they didn't mean anything. Until the flowers. Now Rule 3 lay broken on her desk, wrapped in cream paper and red petals. Her phone buzzed. A message from Andre. Did they arrive? I told you I'd make your desk jealous. She smiled despite herself, then sighed. She typed back. They arrived. Caused more drama than you know. She glanced at Chairman Seo's door. Closed. Silent. But she could feel him in there. Thinking. Watching. Judging. Nia straightened her shoulders, forcing herself back into work mode. She had survived 18 months by being smart. Careful. Grounded. She wasn't about to let flowers ruin that. Still, something deep in her chest wouldn't settle. Because the truth was Rule 3 hadn't been broken by Andre. It had been broken the moment Chairman Seo looked at those flowers like they belonged to him. And Nia knew one thing for sure. Once a man like Seo Junhyuk starts wanting something, he doesn't stop. If you felt that tension, don't go anywhere. This is where things get colder, quieter, and far more dangerous. Subscribe now, because what is coming proves one thing. Silence can hurt worse than anger. By Friday afternoon, Nia Brooks knew something was wrong. Not loud wrong. Not obvious wrong. Quiet wrong. Chairman Seo Junhyuk hadn't spoken to her once that day. No morning instructions. No schedule changes. No brief nod when he passed her desk. Nothing. He walked out of his office just before 4, his phone pressed to his ear, his expression carved from stone. He didn't look at her. Didn't slow down. Didn't acknowledge her existence at all. The elevator doors closed behind him. Nia stared at the empty hallway long after the numbers stopped blinking. In 18 months, that had never happened. Her chest felt tight. She packed her bag slowly, forcing herself not to overthink it. You didn't do anything wrong, she reminded herself. Flowers weren't a crime. Friends weren't forbidden. She hadn't broken any rules that mattered. At least, she didn't think she had. As she stood to leave, a presence stopped her. Chairman Seo's head of security stood a few feet away, hands folded in front of him, eyes sharp but careful. Miss Brooks, he said quietly. Yes, she replied. He hesitated, then lowered his voice. Be careful this weekend. Her heart skipped. Careful of what? He glanced down the hallway, then back at her. Just be aware. And then he walked away. That warning followed her all the way home. Saturday morning came with sunlight and noise and life, things that felt foreign after a week spent walking on invisible lines. Andre spotted her immediately at the airport. And he shouted, pulling her into a hug so tight her feet lifted off the ground. Girl, look at you. Seoul is doing you good. She laughed, really laughed, the sound surprising even herself. Put me down before security thinks you're kidnapping me. He grinned. Worth it. For the first time in days, the tightness in her chest loosened. They spent the day wandering the city, eating street food, laughing too loud, taking photos by the river. Andre talked nonstop about home, about people she missed, about memories she'd buried under responsibility. For hours, she wasn't Chairman Seo's assistant. She was just Nia. And somewhere across the city, Seo Junhyuk watched. From the back seat of his car, parked across the street from the cafe, he stared at the screen in his hand. Andre's social media story. Nia laughing. Head tilted back. Free. Relaxed. A version of her he rarely saw. His jaw tightened. She never laughed like that at work. She smiled, yes. She was polite. Warm. Professional. But that smile? That belonged to someone else. Who is he? Seo muttered under his breath. Every laugh felt like betrayal. Every photo felt intentional. Every moment they stood close felt like something being taken from him. He didn't know why it burned so badly. He only knew it did. That night, Nia returned home exhausted but lighter. She placed the flowers Andre had brought her on the counter and smiled to herself. Tomorrow would be quiet. Sunday always was. She was wrong. Sunday came with silence. No messages from Chairman Seo. No schedule updates. No emergency calls. At first, she told herself it meant nothing. By afternoon, her stomach twisted. She opened her laptop. Checked her email. Nothing. She checked the office calendar. All meetings still scheduled. At 3:12 p.m., curiosity got the better of her. She opened the building access app, something only senior staff could do. Her breath caught. Chairman Seo's car had entered the office garage at 6:04 a.m. On a Sunday. It hadn't left. He was there. Working. And he hadn't contacted her once. That night, Nia lay awake staring at the ceiling, her phone resting on her chest. Why was he angry? Had she embarrassed him? Crossed a line she didn't know existed? Was this punishment? By midnight, fear crept in. What if this was it? What if Monday brought termination papers and a polite goodbye? She thought of the flowers. Thought of his eyes on them. Her chest tightened again. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Nia stepped into the office 15 minutes early, nerves buzzing under her skin. She made his tea exactly the way he liked it. Checked the temperature twice. Straightened her blouse. She knocked on his door. Guomein. His voice was cold. She entered. He didn't look up. Good morning, Chairman Seo, she said softly. Silence. She took a step closer. And that's when she saw it. His laptop screen. An image frozen there. Her and Andre. Laughing. Together. Her heart dropped into her stomach. And when Seo Junhyuk finally lifted his eyes to meet hers, she knew. This wasn't about flowers anymore. If this made your heart race, do not stop here. This is where the silence breaks, and the truth gets dangerous. Subscribe now, because here answers one question that will change everything. How far will a man go when jealousy finally gets a name? The photo filled the screen. Nia didn't need to lean closer to know what it was. She was laughing. Head tilted. Andre beside her, his arm slung casually around her shoulder. A moment frozen in time, bright, harmless, human. Chairman Seo Junhyuk turned the laptop toward her like he was presenting evidence. This, he said quietly, is productive? The word hit her like ice water. Her throat went dry. Sir. He stood then, slow and controlled, moving around the desk until he was directly in front of her. Too close. Close enough that she had to tilt her head to meet his eyes. You said your weekend was productive, he continued. I'm trying to understand how this fits. Nia felt heat crawl up her neck. That's my personal account, she said carefully. And that's my friend. A friend, he repeated, the same way he had with the flowers. Like the word didn't belong here. The same friend who sent you flowers. Yes, she replied, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. The same one. He exhaled sharply through his nose, like he was holding something back. You went out with him, he said. It wasn't a question. I spent time with my best friend, she corrected. There's a difference. He stepped closer. And you didn't think that was dangerous? Nia blinked. Dangerous. You work for me, he said, his voice lowering. Anyone seen with you is seen with me. Anyone close to you becomes a target. So now you're tracking who I see? She shot back. Monitoring my weekends? His jaw tightened. I didn't monitor anything. He posted it publicly. You still looked, she said. Silence. The air between them felt heavy, charged. You don't get to do that, Nia continued, her voice shaking now but not backing down. You don't get to question my personal life like I belong to you. His eyes flashed. I'm responsible for you, he said. Your safety is my concern. My safety, she repeated softly. Or your control? That landed. For a moment. She thought he might yell. He didn't. Instead, something in him cracked. Do you think I don't see what's happening? He said, his voice rougher now. Flowers. Weekend plans. Smiles like that. He gestured sharply at the screen. You look happy with him. I am happy with him, she replied. He's my friend. Then why does he send you flowers? The question came out raw. Nia stared at him. Because he cares about me. The words hung in the air. Care. That's what did it. He turned away suddenly, running a hand through his hair, pacing like a caged animal. You don't understand what that means, he muttered. Men don't do things like that without wanting something. And you do, she asked quietly. He stopped. Slowly, he turned back to her. Their eyes locked. What exactly are you accusing me of? She asked. His voice dropped. I'm asking what he is to you. And I'm telling you that's none of your business. His eyes darkened. Everything about you is my business. No, she snapped. It's not. That was the moment the line shattered. You are my employer, she continued, her voice rising now. Not my owner. You don't get to interrogate me because another man exists in my life. He stepped closer again. Do you know what could happen to you if the wrong person thought you mattered to me? And do you know what happens when you treat me like I don't belong to myself? She fired back. They were breathing hard now. So say it, she challenged. Say what you're really asking. He hesitated. Then, barely above a whisper, he said, Were you on a date? The word finally spoken. No, she said firmly. And even if I was, it wouldn't concern you. Something raw flickered across his face, anger tangled with something that looked like pain. I need to know, he said. You want to know, she corrected. Because you're jealous. The word hit him like a slap. I am not. You are, she said. And that's not my responsibility to manage. They stared at each other, the truth pressing in from all sides. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. More dangerous. Who is he to you? Nia held his gaze. No, she said. His eyes widened slightly. What? No, she repeated. You don't get answers just because you demand them. For the first time since she'd known him, Seo Junhyuk looked stunned. She turned toward the door, her heart racing, her hands shaking. This conversation, she said without looking back, is over. Behind her, silence exploded, and neither of them could pretend anymore. If this confrontation shook you, don't blink. Subscribe now. The door closed behind Nia with a soft click. She took 3 steps down the hallway before she heard him say her name. Nia. Not Miss Brooks. Not assistant. Just her name. She stopped. For a moment, she told herself not to turn around. Walking away felt safer, cleaner. But her heart was pounding too hard, and part of her already knew this wasn't over. When she turned back, Seo Junhyuk was standing in the doorway of his office. His tie was loose now. His perfect control wasn't. Come back, he said quietly. She hesitated. I said the conversation was over. I know, he replied. But I'm not. Something in his voice, tired, rough, honest, made her step forward. The door shut behind them again. Silence filled the room. Thick. Heavy. Different from before. He didn't sit. Neither did she. I crossed a line, he said finally. She folded her arms. Yes. You did. I interrogated you, he continued. Tracked something that wasn't mine to track. I let jealousy pretend it was concern. Her breath caught. So you admit it, she said. You were jealous. He laughed once, sharp and bitter. Jealous doesn't even begin to cover it. He turned away, staring out at the city like it might give him answers. When I saw those flowers on your desk, he said slowly, I wanted them to be from me. The words landed hard. Nia's heart skipped. I wanted the card to have my handwriting, he went on. I wanted you smiling because of something I did. I wanted Saturday to be with me. He faced her again, eyes dark, exposed. I wanted you. The room felt too small. You don't get to say that like it's simple, Nia whispered. You're my boss. I know, he said immediately. That's why I fought it. He took a step closer, stopping himself like he was afraid of going too far. For months, I told myself this was nothing. That wanting you was weakness. That protecting you meant staying away. His voice broke. But every time you laughed, every time you said my name, every time you brought me tea without being asked, it got harder. Nia's hands trembled. You don't know what it's like, he continued. To spend your life in control. And then lose it over someone who doesn't even realize they own you. Her chest ached. I do know, she said softly. He froze. She met his eyes. Because I've been doing the same thing. His breath hitched. What? I've loved you quietly, she admitted. Carefully. On purpose. The words spilled out now, unstoppable. I told myself I was just grateful. Just loyal. Just professional. But every time you noticed something about me, really noticed, I felt seen in a way I never had before. She took a step closer. I memorized you, she said. Your habits. Your moods. The way you go quiet when you're hurting. I fell in love with the man you are when you think no one's watching. His eyes shone. You shouldn't have, he whispered. I'm dangerous. My world is dangerous. I know, she replied. That's why I was careful. That's why I never crossed the line. Silence stretched. They were standing on opposite sides of something fragile now. This changes everything, he said. Yes, she agreed. It does. He closed his eyes. I can't promise safety, or ease, or a clean path. She reached for his hand, stopping just short of touching him. I don't need promises. I need honesty. He opened his eyes. I want you, he said again. Not as something I own. As someone who chooses me. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure he could hear it. Then choose me right, she said. No control. No punishment. No games. He nodded once. I can do that. She exhaled. Then I choose you too. The space between them disappeared. When he kissed her, it wasn't gentle. It was desperate. Months of restraint breaking all at once. His hands trembled. Hers gripped his shirt like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, stunned, the world felt different. Changed. He rested his forehead against hers. This complicates everything. She smiled softly. We were complicated long before this. A knock sounded at the door. They froze. Reality rushing back in. Seo Junhyuk straightened, his expression shifting, but not fully returning to its old mask. Go, he said quietly. We'll talk later. Nia nodded, her heart still racing as she walked out. Behind her, the wall between them was gone. And neither of them knew what would replace it. If this confession hit you in the chest, don't stop now. Subscribe, because what he does next will break your heart before it heals it. By Tuesday morning, it was clear. The confession hadn't softened Seo Junhyuk. It had scared him. Nia felt it the moment she stepped into the office. No quiet greeting. No lingering look. No tension that felt warm and dangerous. Just cold distance. Every instruction came through text. Short. Sharp. Professional. Reschedule the 10 a.m. Send contracts to legal. I'll take lunch in my office. No please. No thank you. Like the kiss never happened. Like the truth they'd shared hadn't cracked his world open. Nia sat at her desk with her spine straight and her heart sinking. This wasn't control. This was punishment. Around noon, the elevator doors opened, and everything got worse. The woman who stepped out looked like she belonged on the cover of a magazine. Tall. Slim. Perfect black dress that hugged her like it was custom-made. Hair pulled into a sleek bun. Heels clicking confidently against the marble floor. She smiled like she already owned the place. I'm looking for Chairman Seo, she said to Nia, her English smooth polished. Nia stood automatically. May I ask who's calling? Seo Min-jae, the woman replied. He's expecting me. The last name hit first. Seo. Before Nia could respond, the office door opened. Seo Junhyuk stepped out. And the way his face changed when he saw Min-jae nearly broke Nia. Not soft. Not warm. But familiar. Min-jae, he said. You're early. She smiled at him. I missed you. Miss. The word echoed in Nia's head as Seo Junhyuk stepped aside to let Min-jae into his office. He didn't look at Nia. Didn't acknowledge her standing there. The door closed. The silence that followed was loud. Whispers started almost immediately. Is that his girlfriend? She's beautiful. Finally, someone appropriate for him. Nia swallowed and sat back down. She told herself it was nothing. Just business. That's what he would say, if she asked. She didn't ask. She didn't get the chance. An hour later, Min-jae emerged from the office and sat down, at Nia's desk. Chairman Seo said I could use this space when you're not needed, she said sweetly. I hope that's okay. It wasn't. But Nia smiled anyway. Of course, she said, her voice steady. Let me grab my things. She gathered her notebook. Her pen. The framed photo of her mother, she kept tucked behind her monitor. Each item felt like a small loss. By the end of the day, Nia was working from a corner desk near the break room. Reduced. Removed. Replaced. Min-jae went in and out of Seo Junhyuk's office all afternoon. She laughed at his jokes. Touched his arm casually. Adjusted his tie before a meeting. He didn't stop her. He didn't look uncomfortable. And Nia felt something crack inside her chest. That night, she cried in the shower, the sound of water covering the way her breath broke apart. She told herself this was what she deserved for crossing a line. For believing him. Wednesday was worse. Min-jae arrived early again. I had breakfast with Junhyuk, she said loudly to another assistant. He wanted me to see the city properly. His favorite places. places Nia had never been invited to. By lunchtime, the office had decided the story. Seo Jun-hyuk had moved on. The foreign maid had overstepped. Order had been restored. Nia kept her head down and worked harder. Perfect reports. Flawless scheduling. Silent compliance. But inside, she was unraveling. That evening, she sat alone in her apartment, staring at the flowers Andre had brought days ago. They were dying now. Petals browning. Water cloudy. She threw them away with shaking hands. Thursday came with exhaustion and resolve. If Seo Jun-hyuk wanted distance, she would give him distance. If he wanted professionalism, she would be untouchable. She arrived early, left late, anticipated needs before he voiced them. Min-jae left at 5, casting Nia a knowing smile on her way out. Seo Jun-hyuk stayed until 8. He never called Nia into his office. Never acknowledged her presence. When she finally packed up to leave, she realized something that hurt worse than the jealousy. He was pretending she didn't matter. That night, Nia admitted the truth she'd been avoiding. She loved him. Not the power. Not the danger. Him. And he was pushing her away because of it. Friday morning, Min-jae appeared at Nia's corner desk. "Chairman Seo wants to see you," she said lightly. "Now." Nia's heart dropped. This was it. The firing. The goodbye. The end. She stood, smoothed her clothes, and walked to his office on legs that felt like they didn't belong to her. She knocked. "Komein." His voice was calm. Too calm. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. Seo Jun-hyuk stood by the window, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight. He didn't turn around. "How was your week?" he asked. The question stunned her. "Productive," she lied. He let out a quiet breath. "Liar." Slowly he turned to face her. His eyes looked tired. Dark circles beneath them. Tie loosened. Control hanging by a thread. "I need to tell you something," he said. Her heart pounded. "Min-jae," he continued, "is my sister." The words didn't make sense at first. "My what?" "My half-sister," he clarified. "From my father's second marriage." The room tilted. "Then why?" Nia started. "I was angry," he said bluntly. "And I wanted you to feel it." Her chest tightened. "You punished me," she said softly. "Yes." "You humiliated me." "Yes." "You made me think I was losing everything." "Yes." He stepped closer. "And I'd do it again if I didn't hate myself for it." Nia stared at him, heart breaking open all over again. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. If this hurt, don't leave yet. Subscribe now, because what he says next will decide whether this story ends in healing or destruction. The words hung in the air between them. My half-sister. Nia stared at Seo Jun-hyuk like she hadn't heard him correctly. Your sister, she repeated slowly. Yes, he said. Seo Min-jae. Her mind raced back through the week. The way Min-jae sat at her desk. The way the office whispered. The way Seo Jun-hyuk let it all happen without explanation. Understanding hit her like a punch to the chest. You let me believe. Her voice broke. She stopped, swallowed, tried again. You let me believe you were replacing me. He didn't deny it. I did. The calmness in his voice hurt more than anger would have. You let the entire office think I was disposable, she continued. You let me think I was about to lose my job, my visa, my life here. Yes, he said again. Nia laughed once, sharp and empty. Do you know how cruel that is? His jaw tightened. Ido. No, she snapped, finally letting the hurt rise. You don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have done it. She stepped closer, every word shaking loose something she'd been holding in for days. You know what you took from me this week? She said. My sleep. My peace. My dignity. You turned my love into something I was ashamed of. He flinched. I was jealous, he said quietly. And instead of owning it, I punished you. Punished me for what? She demanded. For being loved by someone else? For having a life before you? For making me feel out of control, he admitted. There it was. The truth stripped bare. You're powerful, Nia said. You have money, influence, people who move when you say move. And you used all of that against me. His eyes darkened with shame. I know, he said. And there is no excuse. She waited. No explanation followed. No justificación. No blame shifted onto her. Just the truth. I crossed lines I swore I never would, he continued. I treated your feelings like collateral damage. I treated your livelihood like leverage. Her chest tightened painfully. I hated myself every night, he said. But not enough to stop. That's the part that scares me, she replied softly. He nodded. It should. Silence settled between them again. Heavy, but different now. Honest. So what happens now? She asked. He took a slow breath. Now I take responsibility. He moved to his desk and pulled out a folder. Set it down between them. What's this? She asked warily. A revised contract, he said. Independent of me. Guaranteed position. Garanterad visa sponsorship. No retaliation clause. No termination without cause. Her eyes widened. You did this already? Yes. She looked at him, searching for manipulation. Found none. And Minjae, she asked. She's leaving, he said. Effective today. She never should have been placed where you were. Nia exhaled shakily. And us? She asked. He met her gaze. Only if you want it. And only on terms that protect you. She folded her arms, grounding herself. Say them. No secrecy used as punishment, he said immediately. No control disguised as protection. No access to your personal life unless you invite me in. She nodded. And work. Professional boundaries, he said. Clear. Public. If this continues, HR will know. The board will know. Nos a dos. That surprised her. You're willing to risk that? She asked. I already did, he said. The moment I fell in love with you. The words still made her chest ache. I need to know something, she said. If I had walked away, if I leave now, would you let me? He didn't hesitate. Yes. The honesty in his answer shook her more than any declaration. Nia closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about the fear, the humiliation, the loneliness. She thought about his confession, his apology, the contract on the desk. And then she thought about herself. I'm not forgiving you because I love you, she said. I'm forgiving you because you owned what you did. His voice was rough. That's more than I deserve. Don't mistake forgiveness for forgetting, she warned. If you ever try to control me again. I won't, he said. If you ever make me feel small. I won't. If you ever forget that I choose you every day. I won't, he said again, softer this time. I swear. She stepped closer. So this is a restart, she said. Not a reward. Yes. Good, she replied. Because love without accountability isn't love. It's a cage. He nodded, eyes shining. Then I will build something better. She reached for his hand. This time, there was no rush. No desesperación. Just choice. They stood there, fingers intertwined, knowing something important had shifted. But as they separated, Nia felt it. That sense again. The quiet before something bigger. Before something dangerous. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced down. An unknown number. One message. Enjoy the calm while it lasts. Her breath caught. She looked up at Seo Junhyuk. Something was coming. And love was no longer the only thing at stake. If this made you pause, don't scroll away. Subscribe now. Because once the world knows who she is to him, there's no turning back. They loved each other quietly at first. Carefully. Like people who knew the cost of being seen. By day nothing changed. Nia still arrived early. Still worked flawlessly. Still called him Chairman Seo in public. He still kept his distance in meetings, his face unreadable, his voice controlled. But at night, behind locked doors, behind guarded walls, they learned each other slowly. Not just desire. Truth. He cooked for her once, awkward and stiff, watching her laugh when the food came out too salty. She showed him old photos from home, from before Seoul, from before fear. He listened like every detail mattered. And that was the dangerous part. Because someone noticed. The first warning came quietly. A car she didn't recognize parked outside her apartment for 2 nights in a row. A man she didn't know standing too close in the elevator lobby. A message that disappeared from her phone seconds after appearing. Seo Junhyuk noticed everything. His security doubled overnight. New routes. New drivers. New rules. "You're leaving Seoul," he told her one night, his voice tight. "I'll arrange it. New York. London. Anywhere." Nia stared at him. "No. This isn't a discussion," he said. "A rival is watching you." "Because of you," she replied. "Yes," he said. "That's why you need to go." She stepped closer. "You don't get to decide that for me." His jaw clenched. "I can't protect you if you stay." "You can't protect me by erasing me either," she said. "I won't disappear so you can feel safer." He looked at her like the thought terrified him. "You don't understand what happens to people who matter to men like me," he said. "I understand perfectly," she said softly. "I just refuse to live in fear." Silence fell between them. "There's a summit next week," he said finally. "Big. Public. Every rival in the city will be watching." She knew what he was saying. "If I stand beside you," she said, "they'll know." "Yes." "And if I don't," she continued, "they'll still wonder." "Yes." She met his eyes. "Then let them see." His breath hitched. "Nia. I choose you," she said. "Not in secret. Not in hiding. I choose you openly." He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, something in him had shifted. "Then I will protect you with everything I have," he said. "And I won't apologize for it." The night of the summit arrived heavy with tension. Nia stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress was deep emerald green, elegant without being loud. It hugged her like it was made for her. Around her wrist was a delicate bracelet Seo Junhyuk had given her. "It's just jewelry," he'd said casually. She knew better. It was a tracker. A panic button. A promise. When he stepped into the room, dressed in black, flawless and powerful, he stopped short. For a moment he forgot how to breathe. "You're stunning," he said quietly. She smiled. "You look terrified." He laughed once. "I am." They arrived together. The cameras noticed immediately. Flashes exploded. Whispers followed. Eyes tracked them across the room. Seo Junhyuk placed a hand at the small of her back. Steady. Protective. Public. Every step felt like crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. People approached cautiously. Business partners. Politicians. Rivals pretending to smile. And every time someone asked, "And this is?" Seo Junhyuk answered without hesitation. "This is Nia Brooks," he said. "The woman I love." The room changed. Shock rippled outward. Curiosity sharpened. Interest turned dangerous. Nia felt it. Every stare. Every whisper. But she stood tall. Because she wasn't ashamed. They danced once slowly, in the center of the room. "Are you okay?" he murmured. She nodded. "I'm exactly where I want to be." That's when she felt it. A presence. A man watching too closely. Smiling without warmth. Lifting his glass in her direction. Her phone buzzed in her clutch. One message. Beautiful smile. It would be a shame if something happened to it. Her blood ran cold. She didn't flinch. She leaned into Seo Junhyuk and whispered, "We're not alone." His body went still. He scanned the room once, then tightened his hold on her. "I know," he said. "And this ends now." They left early, security closing in around them. In the car, silence pressed heavy. "You're not leaving," he said finally. "No," she agreed. "I'm not losing you," he said. "You won't," she replied. But deep down they both knew. Going public had changed the game. Love had a face now. And someone wanted to hurt it. If this made your heart pound, don't stop here. Subscribe now, because once a threat steps out of the shadows, someone always pays the price. The warning didn't come loud. It came quiet. Too quiet. Nia felt it before she understood it. That shift in the air, that feeling of being watched even when the room looked empty. It happened 3 days after the summit, on a Thursday evening when she stayed late finishing reports. The office was nearly empty. She stepped into the elevator alone, pressed the button for the parking garage, and exhaled. The doors were closing when a hand stopped them. A man stepped inside. Average height. Business casual. Nothing about him stood out, except the way he positioned himself between her and the control panel. "Nia Brooks," he said calmly. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "Yes," she replied, forcing steadiness into her voice. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "I'm just here to pass along a message," he said. "From someone who appreciates ambition." The elevator descended. Slow. Heavy. Nia's fingers curled around her phone inside her bag. "I wouldn't," he said gently, lifting his jacket just enough for her to see the knife tucked at his waist. "No need to make this messy." Her breath caught. "Tell Seo Junhyuk," the man continued, "that Choi Sang-min sends his regards." The name sent ice through her veins. "And tell him," the man added, leaning closer, "that choosing you was expensive." The elevator dinged. The doors opened. The man stepped out like nothing had happened. "Enjoy the rest of your evening," he said over his shoulder. "And smile while you still can." Then he was gone. Nia stood frozen. Her hands shook so hard she almost dropped her phone. She didn't remember pressing the call button. She only remembered Seo Junhyuk's voice breaking through the panic. "Nia," he said sharply. "Where are you?" "There was a man," she whispered. "He had a knife." He said. "I'm coming," he said. "Stay where you are." She heard running. Orders barked in Korean. Footsteps pounding. Security arrived first. Then Seo Junhyuk burst through the stairwell doors, his face stripped of all control. He grabbed her gently, checking her arms, her shoulders, her face. "Did he touch you?" he demanded. "Did he hurt you?" "I'm okay," she managed. "He just warned me." His jaw clenched. "What did he say?" She swallowed. "Choi Sang-min sends his regards." Something terrifying crossed his face. He pulled her into his chest, holding her like he might never let go. "I've got you," he murmured. "I've got you." But they both knew. That wasn't true anymore. Later that night, wrapped in his jacket on the couch in his penthouse, Nia finally asked the question she'd been holding back. "Who is Choi Sang-min?" Seo Junhyuk went still. "My father's killer," he said quietly. Her breath caught. "I was 16, he continued. "My father thought power meant safety. Thought alliances would protect us. One night, men came to our house. Guns. No warning." His voice went flat. "They killed him in front of us." Nia reached for his hand. "Choi was never convicted," he said. "But everyone knows. He's waited years for leverage. Something human." His eyes met hers. "And now he has it." Guilt flooded her chest. "Then I should leave." He shook his head immediately. "No. I don't want to be your weakness," she said. "You're not," he replied firmly. "You're the reason I see clearly." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means I won't hide anymore," he said. "And I won't run." "I'm not going anywhere," she added. "Not because I'm brave. Because I refuse to be treated like a secret that needs to disappear." He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Then we end this," he said. "Together." The next 72 hours were quiet. Too quiet. Seo Junhyuk moved with purpose. Meetings behind closed doors. Security tightening like a net. Calls that ended in silence. Nia watched him. Focused, ruthless, sharp. But different. He asked her opinion. Listened. Adjusted plans. This wasn't the man who once punished her with distance. This was a man fighting for her. On the fourth night he came home late. "It's done," he said. She searched his face. "What does that mean?" "It means Choi Sang-min's accounts are frozen. His partner's exposed. His protection gone." "And the man who threatened me?" "Handled," he said quietly. "He won't come near you again." Relief crashed through her so hard her knees weakened. She sank onto the couch, trembling. Seo Junhyuk knelt in front of her. "I didn't lose control," he said. "I gained it." She cupped his face. "Because you chose love." "Because I chose you," he replied. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his. "You didn't weaken," she whispered. "You sharpened." He smiled, a real one. Later that night, As Nia lay awake beside him, watching the city glow beyond the windows, she realized something. This was the price of being chosen. Fear. Risk. Standing in the open. And she would pay it again. Because she wasn't his weakness. She was his strength. But as she drifted toward sleep, her phone buzzed softly on the nightstand. One message. You think this is over? Her heart skipped. She didn't wake him. She stared at the screen, knowing one thing for certain. If this made your chest tighten, stay with me. Subscribe now, because here is where the story truly comes full circle. The flowers arrived every Friday at exactly 10 a.m. Not rushed. Not hidden. Never anonymous. Nia noticed it the first time because she was still getting used to peace. The apartment smelled like fresh coffee and sunlight instead of fear. No late-night alarms. No shadowed cars lingering too long. Just quiet mornings and open windows and the soft sound of the city waking up below them. The doorbell rang. When she opened the door, there they were. Red roses. White lilies. The same kind that had started everything. She laughed soft disbelieving, and brought them inside. The card was simple. Still you. Always me. She didn't have to look up to know he was watching her from the kitchen, pretending not to. Every week, she asked, turning. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, trying to look casual and failing. You complained that I missed a Friday once. I did not complain, she said. I mentioned. He smiled, the real one. The one she'd fought so hard to earn. Then I listened. That's what their life became. Listening. Choosing. Repairing what once broke them. Months passed quietly, but never empty. They moved slowly. On purpose. She kept her job, but not under him. New role. New team. Clear lines. She wanted that, and he made sure it happened without protest. They cooked together and ruined meals together, and learned how to laugh after fear. He learned how to say what he felt before it turned sharp. She learned how to rest without waiting for disaster. Security was still there. Always would be. But it no longer felt like a cage. It felt like care. She met his mother one afternoon by accident, or maybe it wasn't. The woman studied her carefully, eyes sharp and knowing, then smiled. So, she said in perfect English, you're the reason my son finally sleeps. Nia blinked. You don't have to explain, she replied. Just take care of him. He forgets how. I will, Nia said quietly. Later, when Seo Junhyuk found out his mother had come by unannounced, he looked panicked. She likes you, Nia teased. He exhaled. That's worse. They both laughed. Home stopped being a place. It became a person. The night he asked her wasn't dramatic. No cameras. No grand speeches. Just rain against the windows and quiet music playing too low. Nia sat curled on the couch, reading, when she felt him kneel in front of her. She looked up, confused. Why are you? He took her hands. His were steady. That scared her more than if they weren't. Nia, he said softly. Do you remember the first time I asked about the flowers? Her chest tightened. How could I forget? I asked the wrong question, he continued. I wanted to know who sent them. Who had a claim. Who I was competing with. She swallowed. And I was wrong, he said. Because love isn't something you compete for. He reached into his pocket. Not a box yet. Just his hand. I should have asked whether you felt safe receiving them. Whether you felt chosen. Whether you felt free. Her eyes burned. So I'm asking the right question now, he said. Will you let me give you flowers for the rest of your life? The box came out then. Simple. Elegant. Perfect. Inside was a ring that caught the light and threw it back at them. Steady, quiet, sure. Her breath left her in a rush. I can't promise an easy life, he said. Or a quiet one. My world is still dangerous. My past still exists. She squeezed his hands. But I can promise honesty, he continued. Choice. And love that never turns into control. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Yes, she whispered. He froze. Yes. Yes, she said louder, laughing through tears. You ridiculous man. Of course yes. He let out a shaky breath that sounded like relief he'd been holding for years. When he slid the ring onto her finger, his hands trembled just a little. They didn't rush the future either. They built it. Her family came to Seoul. His mother cried at the engagement dinner. Andre walked her down the aisle later that year, smiling like he'd known this ending all along. The wedding was small, intimate, honest. No fear. No secrets. Just vows spoken clearly and hands held tightly. Years later, on a quiet evening much like this one, Nia stood by the window of their home, watching the city glow. Fresh flowers sat on the table. She smiled. "Do you remember," she said softly, "when you asked who got me those flowers?" Seo Junhyuk came up behind her, arms wrapping around her waist. "How could I forget?" he murmured. "Worst day of my life." She leaned back into him. "Best too." He kissed her temple. "Because that's when our story really started." Outside, the city moved on. Inside, love remained. Chosen. Protected. Free. If this story stayed with you until the end, thank you. If you felt this love, this tension, this journey, subscribe now, because this is only the beginning. More stories. More passion. More love that fights back. And remember, sometimes the flowers that matter most are the ones that finally know where they belong.